Hello and welcome back. Ow, I just bloody hit my hand in that intro. And welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news update show. We've got some exclusive and interesting news on Ten Hag. Fabrizio Romano's come and spoken about Ten Hag, giving us some very positive updates. Mike Way, however you say his surname, we call him Mike for J on the channel because I can't pronounce any foreign surnames. A tier 1 Ajax journalist has obviously reported some very positive news, again indicating Ten Hag to United. I've got some other news and all of that about Rangnick's future. Could Rangnick leave Manchester United after this interim role was up? Board not wanting to keep Rangnick on, rumours and suggestions, rumours and reports coming out that actually Man United have told the players to expect Ten Hag, which would be more positive indications surrounding Ten Hag to Man United and all of that. So make sure you smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe down below if you're new. Make sure you share the video, all of that. And I want to say one thing before I get into all the news, before I get into discussions. West Ham winning, Arsenal ahead of us by a comfortable amount, Spurs winning, United losing, United dropping points. All of a sudden, all these positive Ten Hag rumours come out today. Part of me goes, is this either a step on? Are we taking that next step? Are we finally getting this Ten Hag deal over the line? Or is it classic United PR spin because we've dropped points again, all our rivals are doing a lot better than us? So what is going on at Manchester United? I have to tell you this now. The performance yesterday was abysmal. 1 win in our last 6 Premier League games. Manchester United are now 7th in the Premier League table. That means we could miss out on Europe altogether. And you do say, look, well, we have got a game in hand over West Ham. That game in hand over West Ham is Liverpool. So that is fucking useless. Because honestly, as much as I'd like to beat Liverpool and as much as I want to win 5-0 at Anfield, will Man United beat Liverpool? Very, very unlikely. So you know what? It's not good right now. We're laughing at Arsenal for not finishing in Europe next season, but if we get 7th, well, that's probably us out of Europe or in that fucking Conference League. I do not want to be in that Conference League. I tell you that now. I'd rather have no European football than the Conference League. Don't mind the Europa League, Conference League. Nah. No. But smash a like if you have not smashed that like. Subscribe if you're new and all that. We've got some very, very interesting juicy news to get into. United are embarrassment out of nowhere. Spurs top 4. Could Spurs beat Arsenal to top 4? You know what? I'd rather Spurs get top 4 than Arsenal, just because Arsenal fans are so annoying. And obviously we're going to talk about Robin van Persie coming in, and all of that. As Andrew said, he could be somewhat ideal as assistant, made a huge impact at the club, but such a mate or insider like some sort of others. Look, I will talk about Robin van Persie and all of that. I don't think Arsenal will bottle top 4, but I hope they do. But let's get into Van Persie. Let's get into all the news and all of that as well. And 7th is the Conference League unless Palace win the FA Cup. Well, I hope Palace win the FA Cup, to be fair, but I think it's unlikely. So what came out before the game yesterday, and this came out right before the game yesterday from the Mirror, said that Ten Hag is already putting plans in place should Man United appoint him in the summer. And lots of reports are suggesting that Ten Hag's basically acting as if he's got the United job. Ten Hag, when being interviewed about Barcelona, he's like, no. What are these nonsense rumours about Barcelona? Like, Ten Hag was literally like, when he got interviewed about Barcelona, he says, oh, I'm not going to Barcelona. What are these nonsense rumours? Ten Hag, when the interviewer asked him about United, he goes, oh, United are a lovely club with lovely fans. I mean, Ten Hag completely flirting with Manchester United. Rumours and reports from decent journalists saying that Ten Hag has been in contact with coaches, assistant coaches, Robin van Persie. Ten Hag spoke to United, and we know from Fabrizio Romano that when Manchester United interviewed ERIK Ten Hag, ERIK Ten Hag was coming with his ideas for a rebuild. ERIK Ten Hag wanted to know about budget, who he could bring in, bish, bash, bosh. ERIK Ten Hag is very in favour of this Manchester United rebuild. He wants to bring some of his coaching staff from Ajax. Apparently, he's been looking at Robin van Persie to bring in and made contact with Van Persie to bring in. And a lot of these reports and decent journalists are suggesting that ERIK Ten Hag is kind of acting as if he's got the Manchester United job in a weird way, making plans about what transfer he would bring in, learning English, if that's true or not, looking at Manchester United, making contacts, organising staff. When he's being interviewed by United, Ten Hag's practically interviewing United in the interviews. Fabrizio Romano talked about how positive the interview was between Ten Hag and United, and how Ten Hag was almost interviewing Manchester United, like, my budget, can I bring in this, can I bring in that? And, it's very, very positive regarding ERIK Ten Hag to Manchester United at the moment. And you know, he's almost acting like he's got the job. I mean, some sources saying he's house hunting. Some, you know, there's reports saying that he's told the Ajax squad he's leaving. The Twitter journalists today are all coming out saying that apparently some report that, you know, United players have been told Ten Hag's more likely and all of that. I will take those stories with a pinch of salt. You've got the journalists I know of, I've heard of, I know a decent journalist that get informed by the club, and then you've got the Twitter journalists like the ICK accounts, Transfer Dan, and you know, there's a lot of Twitter journalists about, and they're saying things where, you know what, these Twitter journalists do sometimes get it right, but they're not like journalists, so you don't know whether to believe them. But there's even loads of stuff coming from the Twitter journalists, which I will say take with a pinch of salt. But I'm going to get into what the real reliable journalists have had to say about Ten Hag. Declan puts in the chat, get Ten Hag now. David says United need a striker. We do. We did miss Ronaldo yesterday. However, I still think the midfield is just a big of an issue. And Steve says if Ten Hag's got the job, he's got a big job in his hands. He does. I tell you what, whoever gets the Man United job has got a fucking job on their hand. But let's get into the Ten Hag news. The Don of transfers, Mr. Fabrizio Romano, came out today and said Erik Ten Hag would be super happy to become Manchester United's next manager. Ten Hag's feeling during the meeting with Manchester United was positive, not just on United's side. He wanted to know things like budget, potential signing, and how he would be backed in the market. Now, that big word that Fabrizio Romano said is Ten Hag would be super happy to be Manchester United's next manager. Fabrizio Romano has not only confirmed that United and Ten Hag have had interviews, Fabrizio Romano has not only confirmed that Ten Hag wants to go to Manchester United, but Fabrizio Romano also confirmed that Ten Hag would be allowed to leave Ajax. So we're thinking, Ten Hag wants United, United have interviewed Ten Hag can leave Ajax. United have no excuse whatsoever not to get Ten Hag. It's just, will they choose Poch? Will they choose Ten Hag? Ralf Rangnick prefers Erik Ten Hag. Fabrizio Romano confirmed that. Fabrizio Romano said that Rangnick has spoke very, very highly of Erik Ten Hag to the Manchester United board. He is helping with the next manager process, and his opinion is absolutely positive on Ten Hag. Again, Romano basically suggesting that Rangnick is telling the board that he wants Ten Hag. So the fans want Ten Hag. Rangnick wants Ten Hag, who has an influence on the board. You've got to think about that. Ten Hag wants United, as Fabrizio Romano said. You know, Ten Hag's super happy to be the next Manchester United manager, and we know Ajax will let him go. Very, very reliable journalist Mike Vey, or we just call him Mike. He says that Ten Hag has a release clause of just over €2 million, which is £1.8 million, which, you know, United will have no trouble paying. And again, it came out today by the Mirror that Erik Ten Hag has already sounded out Robin van Persie about returning to Manchester United to be part of his backroom staff. And Erik Ten Hag's already making plans, thinking about recruiting backroom staff and all of that. So very, very positive indications, you know, highly suggesting that Ten Hag to United is likely. Now, again, could this be PR spin? Could this be the timing? All of that, because Fabrizio Romano did come out and say that Manchester United do not see any problem with PSG in the negotiations for Pochettino. It's up to United. And it came out last week that PSG would not stand in the way if United wanted Poch. PSG will let Man United interview Poch. PSG are more than happy to let Poch go to Manchester United for free. I mean, that's a warning in itself. PSG, a club as big as PSG, have no problem with us interviewing Poch, have no problem with us going for Poch, and will not stand in the way of us getting Poch. You know, Man City would not let us get anywhere near Pep. Liverpool would not let us get anywhere near Klopp. Bayern will not let us get anywhere near Nagelsmann. You know, Barcelona will not let us get anywhere near Xavi. But PSG, they're saying, yeah, we won't stand in the way if United want Poch. And United know that. And you know, that's your warning sign in itself, United. That is your warning sign in itself. You know, Romano's confirmed these rumours are basically true, that, you know, PSG do not have any problem with us negotiating with Poch. That's because PSG want to get the fuck rid of him. And if we pay that compensation off PSG's hands, they'll be thanking us. PSG are probably thinking, let's not sack Poch, because if we don't sack him, maybe United will be stupid enough to pay £12 million in compensation for Pochettino when we can spend £1.8 million in compensation for Ten Hag. Because you know what Manchester United are like. And just as he thinks Fabrizio is wrong about Ralph's involvement on the next manager. Ralf just said again and again, said the club numerous times, he has not discussed with the club. Yeah, look, we don't know if Fabrizio Romano's wrong or right. Fabrizio Romano's rarely wrong, so I just give Fabrizio Romano the benefit of the doubt. However, reports are coming out saying that Manchester United do not really want to give Fabrizio Romano a role higher up when he leaves Manchester United, and he would just be helping out once or twice a month, which would indicate that maybe Ralf Rangnick, doesn't have that much influence. Fabrizio Romano is suggesting that Ralf Rangnick has a big influence on United and he wants Erik ten Hag. However, other sources suggest that Erik ten Hag does not have this influence that we might, someone said that you want Klopp. I fucking love Klopp at Manchester United. I'm not even embarrassed to admit that. I'd absolutely love Jurgen Klopp at Manchester United. And this is a really interesting article that's come out again. So obviously, Simon Stone, tier 1 journalist, doesn't, he doesn't lie. He just tweets what he's been told to tweet from Manchester United, basically. But Simon Stone said that PSG chairman Nasser El, I'm not going to try to say his name. I can't pronounce any foreign names. And Ajax chief executive Edwin van der Sar both met at the ECA in Vienna this week. So basically, Ajax CEO and PSG chairman have met this week. And apparently, they both spoke about United and they go, is it going to be Poch? Is it going to be Ten Hag? Apparently, he was suggesting that actually those at United have no fucking clue who the next manager is going to be. Those at PSG and those at Ajax have no fucking clue who the next manager is going to be. And that's because United are just a freaking mess. But back on to the more positive news. James Ducker from The Telegraph again has repeated what Samuel Lurkhurst has said, has repeated what every freaking journalist under the sun has said. But another journalist, James Ducker from The Telegraph, said that Erik ten Hag is the favourite to become the permanent Manchester United manager ahead of a second round of interviews. So another journalist confirming Ten Hag is going for second round of interviews. Another journalist confirming Ten Hag is the favourite and all of that. And James Ducker also said that Manchester United have been targeting players who they feel will fit a sort of possession-based and high-pressing game favoured by their preferred managerial candidates like Ten Hag, and that Erik ten Hag's release clause is just over £1.7 million from James Ducker. Now, this is interesting because not only do we know Ten Hag is the favourite, not only do we know that Ten Hag is going for a second round of interviews, not only do we know Ten Hag will be easier to get than Poch, only 1.7 million in compensations, and that Ten Hag wants the Manchester United job, but we're looking at players Manchester United are interested in buying. And Samuel Lurkhurst said the other day that he'd expect Manchester United to make 4 key signings. However, that'll be influenced on the next manager. Now, James Ducker has sort of finished saying very similar things to Samuel Lurkhurst. But what James Ducker is saying, and he's a decent journalist, is that United are targeting players that they think would suit possession-based and high-pressing football, which, is Ten Hag style rather than Poch style, which would, again, suggest if you look at the players we're looking at, it's almost like we are planning for Ten Hag. You've got to think, well, everything is indicating Ten Hag at the moment. For every one Poch report, there's 9 Ten Hag reports. It's 50-50, but it feels like 70-30 in Ten Hag's favour right now. Everything is sort of suggesting Erik ten Hag. He's cheaper, he's easier, the fans want him, Rangnick wants him. He's further progressed in the interview process because Ajax will let him go. And then you're thinking about the players that we're looking at right now. They're suited to Ten Hag's football. Ten Hag is the only manager inquiring about coaches to work with him at United. Ten Hag, Poch has spoken to the club, but Ten Hag's spoken to the club about budgets, structure, what coaches he can bring in, who he can bring in for his backroom staff. Could he work with Ralf Rangnick? Could Ralf Rangnick have a role that works closely with him? This is sort of the key difference going on between the two managerial candidates. One is really, looking at coaches, players, backroom staff, learning English, discussing with the club in depth. And the other one's just spoken to the club. And the one that's speaking to the club in depth is Erik ten Hag, which, is a very, very positive indication. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. You guys say to me, is it going to be Poch? Is it going to be Ten Hag? If we're looking at everything we know, it's more positive indications towards Erik ten Hag. Everything is sort of swinging Erik ten Hag's favour from reliable journalists. My heart tells me United are going to go for Erik ten Hag. My heart says, well, look at everything we know about Ten Hag. Right now, it's way more likely than Poch. My heart says United are going to go for Ten Hag. I put my money on Erik ten Hag. But my head tells me, look, United are releasing all this positive news about Erik ten Hag. They're saying Erik ten Hag's the favourite. Erik ten Hag's easier to get. Erik ten Hag is the logical choice. And because Erik ten Hag is a logical choice, my head almost tells me United are going to go for Poch because United just do not go with logic. We've got Mike Vijay, we've got we've got Fabrizio Romano and we've got Mike. Now, Fabrizio Romano is a tier 1 journalist, brilliant journalist. And we've got Mike, who's a tier 1, really, really reliable when it comes to Amsterdam news. They both are not saying that it's Ten Hag, but they're both strongly indicating that Ten Hag is the more likely of the two. Samuel Lurkhurst, good journalist, briefed by the club, says Ten Hag's the clear favourite. James Ducker gets briefed by the club, says Ten Hag is the clear favourite. So my heart tells me it's Ten Hag, but my head says to me, it's so much more logical for United to get Ten Hag. He's cheaper, he's easier, he's who the fans want, he's better. other clubs want Ten Hag, no other clubs want Poch. It's so logical to get Ten Hag, that my head goes. We'll probably go for Poch now. Thank you very much, Stephen, for the super chat. He says Ten Hag and Van Persie will be a disaster. Look, if you want my honest opinion, I want Ten Hag. I'm not bothered about that, Van Persie in the slightest. The reason I'm not bothered about Van Persie in the slightest is he's an ex-player. I don't want ex-players at Man United. I don't care. I'm over this ex-player United DNA. I want modern football coaches that get the job of having a CV that is good enough to get the job. You know, I'm not interested in, oh, but this player, this person used to work at the club. This person's got the United DNA in them. I sit here and I go, I could not give a fuck if this coach has got United DNA or not. You know, if this player used to play for United or not. I want people that get the United job off merit, not through mates rates, not through being an ex-pro. And look, I don't really know what Van Persie's done in the last few years. I'm not aware of it. You know, it could be a really good appointment, but in my head, I'm thinking, let's get Ten Hag, let's get Paul Mitchell, let's get Ralf Rangnick, and let's get Ten Hag's backroom staff in. I would love it if we've got Van der Sar as well. Trying to be a little bit realistic, but, you know, you just don't know. Guys, please do smash that like button and subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you are new. By the way, I'm trying to hit 40,000 subscribers by summer, which is a bit ambitious, but do subscribe if you have not already. Look, you know, Manchester United, we are in the mud at the moment. I won't lie, we are in the mud at the moment. However, if we get Ten Hag, that mud isn't as bad. That mud is not as bad if you get Ten Hag. Now, smash a like if you want Ten Hag and all of that. I'm absolutely waffling because I completely forgot what I was going to say next. But does Mourinho deserve an apology? Yes and no. People are asking me. And would love Roy Keane in there. I wouldn't mind Roy Keane in and around the dressing room to sort out player attitudes, but I wouldn't want Roy Keane as the next manager. And Alice, will anything change if it's Ten Hag or Poch as long as the Glazers are in charge? And look, I've said this before. United could get Poch, United could get Ten Hag, but if the Glazers are in charge of Manchester United, I can't guarantee things will change. I can't guarantee things will change. Look, Man United can win a Premier League with the Glazers. We won Premier Leagues under Fergie with the Glazers, but when David Gill left, we thought, let's replace him with Ed bloody Woodward, basically. Gave Ed Woodward this more senior role, which is fucked us for the last 10 years. And Man United, if we get Erik ten Hag in, even if we still have the Glazers, United can win a title under Poch. United can win a title under Erik ten Hag with the Glazers. Now, I think we're more likely to win a title under Erik ten Hag than Poch, because I think Erik ten Hag is a better manager, but it is possible. However, it is impossible to win a title under the Glazers if the board continue to work the way they've been working the last 10 years. You know, the way the Manchester United board works, the way that bankers and people with no actual qualifications in this kind of role or no prior experience in a higher up role are making decisions is what is inevitably costing Manchester United. You know, these bad decisions higher up are costing us. You think, so we spent £150 million on Dan James, Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire. You know, are any of them good enough for United? That is the question. We turned down Erling Haaland. We went for Odion Ighalo. You look at all the bad decisions we've made, the money we pay. You know, you look at the players' attitudes at the club, and that has been caused by people higher up as well. We've been in the mud since Sir Alex left and David Gill left with Sir Alex, and you know, I think it highlights how good Sir Alex Ferguson was. 100% highlights how good Alex Ferguson was, but at the same time, I just think if the Glazers could do one thing, that would be to actually hire football people that know what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, not let, you know, Richard Arnold make decisions. Instead, let Ralf Rangnick make decisions. And I saw this really good tweet on Twitter, actually. I saw a really, really good tweet on Twitter, which was basically saying, you know, Manchester United hired Erik ten Hag, a mastermind of long-term rebuilds, to do a short-term job. Not Erik ten Hag, sorry, Ralf Rangnick. We brought in Ralf Rangnick as interim manager. Ralf Rangnick has no experience as interim manager. He's not a very experienced manager. Ralf Rangnick is known for what he can do long term. And we brought Ralf Rangnick in to do a short term job when he's known for doing good things long term. And someone put that on Twitter. So, as well, it's an interesting one. Let me just reply to this. Sorry, guys. But yeah, guys, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe down below if you're new and all of that. But I personally Oh, camera's blowing. Camera's blowing. Would you take Rooney? Not yet. Now, Rooney, I think, is doing a fantastic job with Derby. If he keeps them up, that's got to be one of the best managerial jobs in a while. But the way I stand, I'm not into this ex-club legend bullshit. Do you know what I mean? I don't want ex-players. I don't want Darren Fletcher as technical director. I don't care. I am fed up with this English ex-player biased at United. You know, absolutely fed up with it. Just so many players at Manchester United that just are not good enough to be here. So many players. And I just think, fucking hell. And do you know what's brilliant, actually? Ralf Rangnick, and this is what I like about Ralf Rangnick. Yes, Ralf Rangnick is out of his depth in that interim manager role, without a doubt, you know. But as someone said, you know, Ralf Rangnick is expertise long term. You know, Ralf Rangnick is known for what he does long term. We've hired Ralf Rangnick to do a short term job. Now, I think generally, if we care, now I'm not saying that we should keep Ralf Rangnick. I want him working on the board higher up. Whether he'll get that power or not is yet to be known. But what I think is, if Ralf Rangnick was United manager for 4 years and you backed him for 4 transfer windows, I think you'd have something very, very good at Manchester United, because, you know, Ralf Rangnick is known for what he does long term, rebuilding. He rebuilds structures of the club. You know, Ralf Rangnick's known for everything he does long term. And we've basically thought, let's bring in Ralf Rangnick to do a short term job, and we're absolutely fucked. And you know what the most embarrassing thing is? The Glazers thought, let's just bring in Ralf Rangnick, problem solved, we'll get top 4. And they absolutely got punished for it. Ralf Rangnick was saying in January he wanted Hedera. Ralf Rangnick was saying in January, oh, Kamara's 12 million, he's a CDM, we need one. Ralf Rangnick made it very, very clear in January he wanted a CDM. And Ralf Rangnick also said he wanted a young striker. What are Man United going to be doing in the summer? Getting a young striker and getting a CDM who Ralf Rangnick wanted in January. And this was before the Greenwood shit happened. This was before Martial had gone. And this is before we knew Cavani was going to spend 4 months on the bloody injury bench. Oh, don't even get me started on Cavani. And the Glazers ignored him. And Ralf Rangnick is the guy that basically discovered Firmino. Ralf Rangnick is the guy that found Sadio Mane, Timo Werner, Erling Haaland, Joshua Kimmich, and Nkunku. Ralf Rangnick has a very good reputation for finding all these up-and-coming brilliant young players. Like, that is what Ralf Rangnick is known for finding. And Ralf Rangnick said he's £17 million. His name is Julian Alvarez. He's playing in the Argentinian league. He's a young striker. We need a young striker. Go get him, Glazers. The Glazers thought, we're not going to spend £17 million. Even though this season's shit, even though we should probably back Ralf Rangnick if we want top 4, we're going to take a gamble that Ralf Rangnick's going to get top 4. And the Glazers absolutely ignored Ralf Rangnick. Julian Alvarez has gone to Manchester City. I tell you this now, in 5 years' time, when Julian Alvarez is scoring hat-tricks to win Manchester City, their 3rd treble in a row, while we're 15th place in the Premier League, I'll be saying, Glazers, Ralf Rangnick said you should sign him for £17 million, and you ignored Ralf Rangnick in the January window where we desperately needed signings. Because I'm sorry, even in January, I wasn't confident we were going to get top 4. I thought, okay, we can still get top 4 not signing anyone in January, but I didn't have any confidence in it at all because of the way we've been playing before January. We come out of January, we see how we're playing, and I go, maybe if we signed Hedera at CDM, and maybe if we got a young striker, we wouldn't be in the position we're in now. Because if you look at every single game, Manchester United have dropped points, and since January, it's been a midfield issue or a striker issue. Now, Ronaldo's our only striker, but he's 37, and he just cannot play week in, week out. Our midfield is average. I do not care. I'm going to get hate for this. I'm going to get criticism for this. Scott McTominay, he can have a world-class game. Scott McTominay on his day can be absolutely world-class. And I think Scott McTominay, when you play him next to a top CDM and you play him as a box-to-box, he's all right. But Scott McTominay this season and last season was absolutely bang average. He has about 6 crap games, a couple bang average games, and 1 brilliant game. And because he has that 1 brilliant game, it's like we can forget the 6 crap games. Scott McTominay was the worst player on the pitch for Manchester United yesterday by a country mile. And Pogba was pretty shit, but at least Pogba didn't get a red card and give the ball away. I mean, Scott McTominay, I watched back the highlights, just he couldn't even complete a pass. Now, look, I'm not a Scott McTominay hater. I'm not a Fred hater. I do really like Fred, and I think Scott McTominay's okay as a bench player. But you think, if we had Scott McTominay or we had a top CDM playing instead of Scott McTominay, do you think we'd be having a better season? I think we will. Now, I'm not saying Scott McTominay's the problem. He's been better than Maguire this season. He's probably been better than Wan-Bissaka this season, and he has been better than Rashford this season. I'm not saying Scott McTominay is the biggest problem at Manchester United, but I don't think he's good enough. I think we will find out if Scott McTominay is good enough next season, because maybe because I think he's a box-to-box, maybe you put a top CDM next to Scott McTominay and let him play as a box-to-box rather than out of position as a CDM. We might see a good Scott McTominay. But at the end of the day, the midfield at Manchester United is atrocious. McTominay and Fred, how many teams do McTominay and Fred start for? Let's be serious. How many Premier League teams do McTominay and Fred start for? Now, I think Fred is better than McTominay, and I will stick with that. I just think McTominay's academy, he's British, he gets more PR. I always believe Fred is better than McTominay. But how many? McTominay, I don't even know how you say his name right. All right, stop bullying me. But I'm being serious. How many teams would McFred start for? I don't think McFred would start for most teams. Newcastle got Bruno Ramirez. Leicester got Tielemans and Ndidi. Aston Villa, John McGinn, Douglas Luiz. Everton, Decore, Allen. Everton are shit, and I think their midfield's better than ours. I think maybe they start for Watford. Okay, maybe they start for Watford. Maybe they start for Norwich. They would start for Norwich. Maybe Burnley, but McTominay would definitely start for Burnley, to be fair. But I could name 3 or 4 teams, and I just think this midfield at United is so bad. I think, we were saying last year. Now, last year was technically a good season. Yes, we didn't win a trophy, but we finished second and we got to a final. Now, if you look at every other fucking season, finishing second and getting to a fucking final is a miracle right now for Man United. This time last year, where United were in a 10 times better position than they were now. A year ago, we were 10 times better off than we were now. Well, what were we all saying this time last year? We need a midfielder, we need a midfielder. We were saying, McFred, they're just not good enough. We've been picking up on McFred for 18 months. We've been picking up that they are the weak point for 18 months. Yet we've not changed McFred in those 18 months, where 90% of the fan base will all agree that McFred was that weak point, because we didn't have a striker problem a year ago. Martial's form was poor, Cavani was doing all right, and Greenwood was, okay at the time. And now, so CDM was our priority 18 months ago. We never sorted it out. We had an opportunity in January. Kamara, £15 million. Hedera for £30 million. Ralf Rangnick made it clear he wanted Hedera. Now, I guess in favour of the Glazers, you could say, well, look, they don't know who the next manager's going to be. Why sign someone? Well, they don't know who the next manager's going to be, and they're giving out Bruno a new contract. So they just, that completely contradicts itself. And I just think, I genuinely believe that these problems have been coming for a while. We talk about, look at where we were in the summer, look at where we are now, look at this downfall, where's it gone bad? I think, we've seen these problems coming for a while. We were saying McFred this, McFred that. A year ago, we were saying McFred this, McFred that. We were absolutely going and complaining. Didn't get CDM. You know what? Moments FC hid a lot. The individual brilliance of Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, even Marcus Rashford was not that bad last season. Martial, Greenwood, the individual brilliance of the attackers at Manchester United covered up for the atrocious, below average midfield. We finished second last season, but actually, if we look and do a review of last season, how many games were we god awful for 60 minutes? For 60 minutes of the game, we turned it on for about half an hour and Moments FC won us a game. How many games did Man United win last season? Well, we weren't the better team. We didn't dominate the game. And in fact, we were probably good for about 20 minutes of the game, but we scored a moment of magic. So many games last season, we scored a moment of magic. And every time I would do a match reaction after a game last season, I'd be saying, we were shit, but thank fuck Bruno saved us again. Oh, Bruno saved us again. What would we do without Bruno? Oh, Greenwood scored a goal. Rashford scored a goal. We'd create no chances. We could barely keep the ball. We could barely string a pass together. And then we'd score this wonder goal. And we were saying last season, the attack was carrying the midfield. And the midfield got away with being so bad because Man United were just getting lucky. The attack was playing well. Now the attack is not playing well for Manchester United. I think it's exposing how bad the midfield really is. Now the attack's dropped off, Bruno's dropped off, Rashford's massively dropped off, Sancho's a bit, Sancho's been all right, but, we're missing a striker. Now the attack has dropped off at Manchester United and they can't hide how bad the midfield is. It's exposing how bad the midfield is. Now, I'm not talking about Fred. I think Fred has been our best player under Ralf Rangnick. And I think I will defend McTominay in the sense of he's not a CDM. When McTominay plays as a box-to-box, he does have a good game. When McTominay plays with Fred, he's normally shit. But Scott McTominay was awful. Scott McTominay was absolutely awful yesterday. And I'm not saying he was it's not what, Rafael Varane was awful, but Rafael Varane has only had 1 or 2 bad games for United. Scott McTominay's had 10. All right, Telles was awful, but he's just shit, let's be honest. Scott McTominay, I watched the game back, could have got a red card. He gave the ball away twice in 30 seconds, which led for them attacking chances. He looked absolutely out of place. And I watched this video, and there's a whole statistical analysis on Scott McTominay. And he kind of does this thing, and I've really noticed it since I watched this analysis about 4 months ago, where he hides behind the ball. When a player has the ball, he almost doesn't come in a position where he can retrieve the ball. He almost lets a defender stand between him and the ball. So if someone wants to pass the ball to him, it's a lot harder unless it's a backwards or sideways pass. And then, Scott McTominay will get the ball, and I'm thinking, oh, look, Alanga could make a good run here, do this forward pass, slows it down backwards. And United yesterday were absolutely like snail FC. And people are saying it's McTominay. I don't know if it's McTominay. Every time I say McTominay, they say, no, it's McTominay. And then if I say McTominay, you say it's McTominay. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but you know what I'm on about. And I just think these problems that we have been coming for a while because we massively need a midfielder. And I know I've been rambling, but it takes me back to when Ralf Rangnick wanted a midfielder in January. Okay? He wanted a midfielder in January. He made it very, very clear he wanted a midfielder in January. The Glazers ignored him. Okay? And Ralf Rangnick got been at United a month, and he went, fucking hell, they need a midfielder. Pogba, he's been awful. His head is not at United. He wants to leave. Now, Pogba had a few good games. Middlesbrough, I know we lost, but he was all right and all that. But his head's not at United. Our best midfielder, and I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, is Nemanja Matic. Nemanja Matic is United's best midfielder, but he plays 2 games a month and can play 60 minutes, then he's dead. Man United's best midfielder can play for about 60 minutes once a week at most. That is how our club is at the moment, because we've neglected signing a CDM when we've needed one for 3 seasons. We've needed a CDM for 3 seasons, but the last 18 months, even when we were winning games, we were saying we needed a CDM. We won games, we were still saying we needed a CDM. That points out how little the Glazers and people at the club pay attention to matches. Honestly, I'm going to be honest. If Edward would watched games and had a footballing brain, if Richard Arnold wasn't a banker and he watched games and had a footballing brain, they would probably go, yeah, United are winning games, but there's a midfield issue. I think because we were winning games under Ollie, and the people that make decisions weren't watching the game, they only see the results. They make decisions based on, oh, they're winning games, so they must be all right. But when we were winning games, we weren't winning games sustainably last season. We were winning games through moments of brilliance, and we were winning games, and then we were giving, when we were doing player ratings, we're like Fred 5, McTominay 5. It's bad. Now I think McTominay and Fred have been better since Ralf Rangnick's come in, but I just looked at the midfield yesterday and I thought atrocious. Fred was okay, but McTominay and Pogba absolutely atrocious. Matic comes on and we start to sustain the ball. And, Ralf Rangnick wants to play a certain way. He can only play that way if he has a CDM. And yes, you've brought Ralf Rangnick in to just get us to the end of the season. But when top 4 was out of reach in January and, Ralf Rangnick was saying, look, I need a CDM, why would you ignore him? The Glazers wanted to take that gamble that Ralf Rangnick, a manager that is known for things he does long-term, was going to be able to do a short-term job. And I like Ralf Rangnick. I don't think he's the issue. I think he has to take some responsibility. The constant starting of the underperforming Maguire, the constant starting of Scott McTominay. He has to take some responsibility, Ralf Rangnick. However, I don't think he's at all to blame at the club. But, we hung him out to dry. We absolutely hung out to dry. Pogba plays best in a 4-3-3, but United never plays system. I agree. Now, I do believe that with Paul Pogba, if we had Tchouaméni in the squad and we played Pogba, Fred, Tchouaméni as a midfield 3, I think we'd see a very good Paul Pogba. Now, this is not me completely defending Paul Pogba. I think Paul Pogba could be better for Manchester United. I don't think his head is there. But I think in respect to Paul Pogba, we play a very unsustainable system. We're changing the style. We're changing the formation. He's playing with bad players. We can't get the best out of Paul Pogba because we've never tried to. We've seen an absolutely brilliant Paul Pogba when we were playing with Matic, Herrera and Paul Pogba as a midfield 3, 4-3-3. Paul Pogba was flying. Then Matic, Pogba, Bruno as a midfield 3. Pogba was flying. Pogba plays well when he's got a good CDM to free him up. The problem is He was playing with Scott and Fred. None of them are a CDM. Couldn't be threed up. Had to do, a lot more than he wanted to do. He can't do it as well. Andrew says also Ralf is clearly struggling to get the message and philosophy across. Players are to blame, but that's on the gaffer as well. I agree with that, Andrew. And Hannibal Mejbri was so much better than McTominay. Look, I want to see Mejbri and Garner given a chance next season. I believe the next manager, whether it's Poch, whether it's Ten Hag, will give the likes of Mejbri and Garner a chance next season. Honestly, and a proper director of football with authority trying with things would bin off 90% of the squad. And I agree with that, Andrew. I think we need to get rid of a lot of players at United. And what I'm going to do is we're going to do my favourite game, guys. And I want you to join in on this. But we're going to be doing bin, keep, sell, bench. All right? Because let's think about the rebuild, okay? Now, for me, it is Ten Hag. Whether you want Poch, whether you want Ten Hag, debate that with yourself. But for me, it's Ten Hag. It always will be Ten Hag. Smash your like if you want Ten Hag at Man United. And also, guys, I'm just going to throw this out. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football. It'd be really, really appreciated if you do subscribe to the channel. It literally costs nothing to subscribe. I do daily Manchester United content on the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more, please do subscribe to the channel as well. We are 25 subscribers away from 31.4k. So if you're watching right now, please do subscribe. But my fucking thing's frozen. Here we go. So in terms of a rebuild, what do we do? Okay, De Gea I'd keep. I don't think De Gea will suit Ten Hag long term, but we have so many big problems. I'd keep De Gea. I'd sell Henderson because we don't need two top keepers. Tommy and Lee Grant, do what you want with them. Victor Lindelof, I would keep. ERIK Bailly, I like him, but he's played 4 games this season. He's always injured. I'd sell Bailly, I'd sell Phil Jones, and I'd actually sell Harry Maguire. Now, actually, Harry Maguire was okay the other day. When Harry Maguire's in form, he's an okay centre-back. I don't mind Harry Maguire at Man United as a third-choice centre-back. Like, if we have Varane and Koundé and Maguire's our bench centre-back in case one gets injured, I don't mind that. The problem is with Maguire, if he's at United, he has to start every game, which is costing us. If Maguire was one of those players that when he was out of form, we dropped him, I wouldn't mind him at the club because I know when he's in form, he's not that bad. But personally, I would sell Harry Maguire. I keep Luke Shaw. I actually don't think Luke Shaw's a bad left back despite drop off in form this season. Alex Telles, I think, is worse than Luke Shaw. I don't mind him as a backup, but actually I'd probably sell him. I'd rather have Brandon Williams at the moment. Wan-Bissaka, I'd sell. Diego Dalot, I'd keep, but he's got to prove himself next season. I think he's improved under Rangnick. We can see a player in Diego Dalot, but I still think we need to expect more from Diego Dalot. Varane, I will keep. I know he's had 1 or 2 bad games, but for the majority of the season, he's been good. Paul Pogba, I would sell. Fred, I would keep as a bench player. I think that Fred has been our best player under Ralf Rangnick. Criticise Fred all you want. Ability-wise, he's not the best player in the world, but since he's been playing further forward under Ralf Rangnick, he's actually got quite a lot of goals, quite a lot of assists. He's influenced the game quite positively. And the one thing you can say about Fred is at least he tries. Now, this should be the bare minimum. In football, the bare minimum expectation for Man United is that every player puts on that shirt, gives their heart out. You're thinking if you play for Man United, the bare minimum we expect from you is you to try, play your heart out and give everything you got on the pitch. Unfortunately, I feel like 70% of the players at Man United right now, when they're on the pitch, they're not playing to their best. Now, Fred, maybe this is why Ollie liked him. Fred might not be our best player. Fred might be a bit of a meme, but the one thing about Fred is when he puts the shirt on, he always fucking tries. He always fucking runs and he never gives up. And he's not blaming others for his mistake. He knows he's not the best player in the world, but he's always there. He'll work hard under any manager. And that is why I'm happy to keep Fred as a bench player. Bruno, I'd keep. Matic, I'd love to keep him, but he's absolutely finished. I think he's our best technical midfielder. But we need Matic gone, but we need him replaced. Like, seriously, like, when I say sell a player and replace them, that is Nemanja Matic. Scott McTominay, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't mind him as a bench player, as backup, playing in the cup games. I don't mind it. If we've got a top CDM, I wouldn't mind trying out as a box-to-box, but I just don't think he's good enough. And I think for the standard where Man United should be, we should sell Scott McTominay. Right now, we probably keep Scott McTominay for next season because we're getting back to being the top 4 club next season. We're not getting top 4. We might not even get top 6 at this rate. We're absolutely dreadful at the moment. Scott McTominay, if we want to be a title-winning team, he doesn't make a title-winning team. I'm going to be honest with you. So for that reason, I'd probably sell, but I'd give him a season or 2 as a bench player. Hannibal Mejbri, I'd keep and give him a chance. Jesse Lingard, I'd sell. Wan Mata, I'd sell. For Koundé Pellistri, let's find him a good Premier League loan somewhere like Brighton. I'm going to be honest, Amad Diallo loan, not worked. Pellistri loan, not worked. Laird loan, not worked. You know, all our loans aren't working or haven't been good. We need to sort out this structure of, you know, player development. None of the players at United are developing. Marcus Rashford's declined in 2 years. Mason Greenwood, his first season, it was a lot better than his last 2 seasons. Martial's declined in 2 years since the NHS Martial season. All of our young players are declining. No one's improved. Since Ralf Rangnick's come in, improvement in Delo, improvement in Fred. We're seeing slow, subtle improvements in certain players under Ralf Rangnick. But if you look at where we were 2 years ago and we look at where we are now, we weren't a good team 2 years ago, but Bruno, Rashford, Martial, all these players were playing better 2 years ago than they're playing now. That's what I mean. And you look at all the loans we're doing, you know, Pelestri to the most defensive club in La Liga, poor loan. Amadiello to Rangers, poor loan. The development at United is absolutely awful. We need to sort it out. Sudan Iqbal and Charlie Savage, they can just continue in the youth. I don't really care. Edison Cavani gone. Can we just get rid of Cavani now? He just does not want to be here. He's not trying. I don't care. Like, gone. Marcus Rashford, honestly, a lot of you guys would sell Marcus Rashford. He does not look right. But I still believe there's a player in Marcus Rashford. He was very good 2 seasons ago. He was 22 seasons ago, very good. He's lacking confidence. He's not right. I still think there's a player in Marcus Rashford. I think I'm going to defend Rashford here, and it's not because he's English. I don't have English agendas. I don't have English bias. I say the same about Martial. I'll say the same about a lot of players at United. But where I'm going to defend Marcus Rashford is I believe, someone said you can't sell Lingard, he's 3. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Just let Lingard go for free. But Marcus Rashford is 23, 24. Andrew said that Laird's injuries, yeah, he was brilliant and then he got injured with Laird, to be fair to him. But what I'm going to say about Marcus Rashford is he is 23, he's 24, isn't he? I would say he has been a subject of poor coaching and man management. I generally believe that Ollie, now I'm not, it's, you know, Rashford's fault for his poor form and all of that, of course, but I think Ollie has a big part to play in the decline of Marcus Rashford. I generally do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has a big. Oh, I can't bloody talk, can I? I can't bloody talk at the moment. Sorry, guys. My voice is gone. But yeah, back to my point. I generally believe that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has a big part to play in the decline of Marcus Rashford. Now, and I say the same about Martial. It's not because Rashford's just British. I'm not protecting Rashford. I'm not saying, you know, there's reasons why he's been poor. Rashford is to blame for his poor form. But what I mean by that is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would play Marcus Rashford every single game. He'd never give Marcus Rashford a break. He'd play Rashford injured. And Ole kind of broke Rashford in that sense. Always playing him, overplaying him, the reliance on him, the man management of Marcus Rashford by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was absolutely atrocious. He was literally killing this player. And to be fair, Rashford did carry us for a little bit when we were really shit. And then also to play in the fact that the coaches at Manchester United are not good coaches. United were not playing sustainable football. We're not playing a sustainable system. You know, you look at Greenwood, Rashford, Martial as a front three 2 seasons ago, and you look at them this season, they were so much better 2 seasons ago. They've declined. They've not moved forward. And that is because of the lack of intelligent coaching at Man United. It meant that Rashford's not grown a footballing IQ at all. You know, there's no good coaches at United to play a good way. That Rashford's got used to playing this way and getting into bad habits because the poor coaching would never actually go, Rashford, like, your bad habit is that you'll get past 5 players and then there's an easy pass, but you want to get past that 6th player and you lose it. And I think the lack of coaching, you know, letting players continue bad habits, the lack of sustainable football, the play style, and I think Ollie's man management of Rashford has actually had a big impact on his decline because it's not sustainable football, overplaying him, poor coaches, you know, everything at this club has caused problems with these players. Our best 2 players this season, in a weird sense, have been Sancho and Varane. De Gea's a goalie. I'm talking outfield players. You know, when people are saying sell them all but keep Sancho and Varane, what's the one common thing with Sancho and Varane? Oh, they joined this season, so that's why they're not god awful because they've only been here 6 months. They haven't had enough time to get in the habits of United. And I think, you know, one of our problems goes right down to the root, which is the training ground, the coaches, the employees at Manchester United. You know, when we're employing people that Hull City wouldn't employ, when we're employing people that got sacked from Cardiff at this club off the base of mates rates and being an ex-club legend, well, you know, the standards have instantly dropped. When you're employing people to coach these players that wouldn't get a job at a League One side, You know, no wonder that a lot of these players aren't improving. No wonder there's no clear play style on the pitch. No wonder we're not playing good football. You know, we need to start from scratch. We need to get good coaches, completely revamp the training ground. We need to work on the coaches, the training facilities. We need to work on, you know, getting a manager and good coaches in, good employees in, because then players will start to improve. We have all these good players and we seem to make them shit. Paul Pogba, brilliant player. We make him shit. He goes to France, he's good again. And a lot of these players at United are declining. Like, United players seem to just get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I generally think it goes down to actually a lot of the people that work on the Man United training ground were mates with Ollie, and they got sacked from Cardiff as well. But we employed them through mates rates. We need to get top coaches in, top people to work who work in player development. I'm talking top coaches, top people that work in player development, a top manager, you know, and structure this training ground, because players are declining. The management of players is awful. You know, a lot of it is on the players. A lot of it is on the players' work rate. But I just don't think the coaching structure is good at United. And you said a proper run club would take a loss and sell quite a few of our players. Our board is just hanging on to them. They are worthless. I absolutely agree. Honestly, Sancho, Ronaldo, Varane keeps us lucky. And they're the three, you know, everyone's saying they'll keep Sancho, Ronaldo, and Varane. What's the three things that Sancho, Ronaldo, and Varane have in common? They all signed this season. The reason Sancho, Varane, and Ronaldo aren't god-awful is because they've only been here 6 months. I tell you this now, in 2 years, if United continue the way they are, in 2 years, Varane will be a god-awful player, Sancho will be a god-awful player, and Ronaldo will be finished. Because it's like, you know, every player comes to United, they're a good player for their first season. They all of a sudden become shit. And it's like when you come to United and you're a good player and then you get used to how United train, the attitude of United, it's like you almost become shit when you go to United. Like, I genuinely believe that. Like, Bruno was so much better in his first season than he is now. And it's because Bruno's been coached and told so long, oh, Bruno, it doesn't matter about player intelligence. It doesn't matter about possession. Let's just do that hero ball, Bruno. You know, and when the coaching, I don't think any coaches at Man United are good enough, because I don't see any improvement. Eric Ramsey to be this set piece guy. Where is the improvement? Like, as B Dork says, like, all our players are declining, and, you know, you can put blame on the players, but I just think we're employing people that shouldn't even be coaching these players. We're employing people on a training ground that aren't actually doing the right drills or training techniques with these players, and we're employing coaches, you know, because they were ex-club legends that didn't actually have an IQ to build a football team. We've been playing unsustainable football with poor coaches for so long that it's caused a regression of players. And the only players that haven't regressed are the players that have joined in the last 6 months. And I just feel like every single player that comes to United just regresses. It's like no one, like, you know, people will come to United and have a good season and a half, and then they'll just become an average player. I don't think there's a player that's joined United and been good over 5 seasons. You know, it's like you come to United a good player, you come out of United a bad player because of how poor the coaching is, honestly. And, you know, it's more than the manager. This isn't on the manager. It's actually the fact that there are coaches in this club that aren't good enough. There's the people doing player development, the people working on the training ground, the people advising the manager, they're not good enough. Darren Fletcher has got a technical director role off the basis of being an ex-player. He wouldn't get employed at Ipswich, let alone, you know, Man City. He shouldn't be employed at Man United just because he's an ex-player. He should, to get that role, Darren Fletcher should have gone away to a club like Southampton, done a really good job, and then got offered that role. You know, I don't have an issue employing club legends if they've gone to a club like Southampton, done well, they've gone to another club like Spurs and done well, and we bring them to United. I don't mind. But when we're employing a club legend that hasn't done anything well outside United, isn't employed to do that job, and we're giving them a job like technical director, you're stupid. Like, I really like Rio Ferdinand, but he would play 5 at the back and bring in Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Like, what, you know, do you really want that man making decisions at United? Well, he's a club legend, he's a good footballer. Just because he's a good footballer, just because he's a club legend, doesn't mean that he necessarily knows loads about the club. So why is Darren Fletcher allowed a bigger say than Ralf Rangnick? Darren Fletcher has a bigger say in who we bring into the club than Ralf Rangnick. Ralf Rangnick is the man that found Mane, Firmino, Kimmich, Erling Haaland, and Cuckoo. Ralf Rangnick was the man that found them before they were good players, when they were in lower leagues and doing well. You know, Darren Fletcher, oh, well, we used to play for the club. So, you know what? Let's ignore Ralf Rangnick, who's highly more employed, highly more skilled. Even when we want to have a long-term rebuild project, Ralf Rangnick, let's look at his CV. Okay, we're looking at Ralf Rangnick's CV. Oh, Ralf Rangnick has a really good reputation of rebuilding clubs and doing brilliant things long term. Ralf Rangnick's really well known for rebuilding the structure of the club. Well, our club needs a structure rebuild. Ralf Rangnick has a really good reputation of finding players at a young age and finding a lot of hidden gems. Ralf Rangnick has a really good reputation for recruitment. This is everything United need. We need better recruitment. We need to refresh the structure of this club. We need to spend less money and spend money more wisely in the transfer window. Oh, wait, Ralf Rangnick ticks all these boxes, but Darren Fletcher used to play for United. So actually, although Ralf Rangnick has the CV, we're going to give Darren Fletcher this role because he used to play for the club. And even though he doesn't have the CV, he'll probably be cheaper to employ. So you know what, Darren Fletcher, you have a big say in the rebuild. And that is just how United are run, an absolute banter club. Fletcher has to basically spy on the board. It's very unusual to have a technical director present the way he is. Exactly, it's just weird. And why are Fletcher and Phelan on the bench? Fletcher and Phelan should not be here at all. John Murtagh, he did okay. We won't go on John Murtagh yet. But at the end of the day, if United were a serious club, we'd be getting Ten Hag. We'd be giving Ralf Rangnick the sporting director role. We'd be bringing in Paul Mitchell to be Ralf Rangnick's co-sporting director. And we'd be bringing Ten Hag's assistant. And we would say, fuck ex-players, fuck mates rates. We go to the training ground and go, oi, John, why are you working on the training pitch? I worked with Ollie at Cardiff, but I got sacked. Yeah, you can't be at United. You've been shit. You know, we'll go like right down to the dinner, ladies. Get fucking rid of them all. Honestly, get rid of about 10 players. Get rid of all the staff. Get rid of a whole lot of stuff. And let's have a refreshed, modern rebuild. What's Ralf Rangnick known for doing? Modernising football clubs, modernising the structure, rebuild. Ralf Rangnick wants to work with Paul Mitchell and ERIK Ten Hag. Let him do that. You know what, Darren Fletcher, I know we employed you a year ago, but look, you're not, you know, what is your role? I don't know what my role is, but I help Ralf Rangnick on the pitch, you know. I work with John Murtagh. I don't know what my role is. Yeah, no one knows what your role is. You know, Ralf Rangnick literally got asked, what does Darren Fletcher do at United? And Ralf Rangnick said, I don't really know. Ralf Rangnick has come out, and this is why I like Ralf Rangnick. This is why I have a lot of respect for Ralf Rangnick, because Ralf Rangnick has publicly come out and said he doesn't know what Darren Fletcher's role is. Ralf Rangnick basically said there's a lot of players here that aren't good enough to be here, which is absolute facts. You know, Ralf Rangnick said United need a massive rebuild. There's a lot of players here that aren't good enough. What is Darren Fletcher's role? This is why we need to give Ralf Rangnick the power. It's not, you know, Ralf Rangnick is not doing well because he's not a short-term guy, he's a long-term guy. We're talking about a rebuild. Who better than Ralf Rangnick? You know, it came out today that Ralf Rangnick wants to land a senior role at Manchester United and he will recommend the changes he thinks that United need. But United's transfer team have their own ideas and Rangnick's position is uncertain. United transfer team that have failed for the last 10 years, the United transfer team that absolutely spent 80 million on Harry Maguire, 50 million on Wan-Bissaka, the United transfer team that's absolutely spent the second most money in world football, yet we're nowhere near the second best team in the last 10 years. Second most money spent in the last 10 years, nowhere near the second best team. This transfer team that's failed for 10 years, flopped, rebuild 4, manager 4, this transfer team that's failed so much, says that they have their own ideas and they don't want to listen to Ralf Rangnick. That is why this club is a joke. Ralf Rangnick wants to be sporting director. Ralf Rangnick wants to have a say. Ralf Rangnick wants to modernise this club. And, you know, so we work the same way City work. So we work the same way Chelsea work. We actually bring in a proper sporting director of football. We actually bring in a proper CEO. We actually have a modern football structure. Ralf Rangnick wants to come in, help with recruitment. Ralf Rangnick, he found Kimmich. He found Haaland. He found Mane. He found Firmino. This Ralf Rangnick wants to come in and have a say. But our transfer team say, you know what? We don't want to give Ralf Rangnick a senior role at United because we have our own ideas. This transfer team that has their own ideas has failed for 10 years, yet they don't want to employ someone that has a good CV of rebuilding clubs long term. What are we trying to do? A rebuild. So Ralf Rangnick wants to be director of football at United, but he's going to be offered a job a few days a week as an advisor. That is our club, and that is why it doesn't matter who Poch is, it doesn't matter who Ten Hag is. The next manager that comes to Manchester United will ultimately fail because this club would rather continue on the way they were and continue staying the same club they were for the last 10 years, putting money and commercial success over football, than actually employ someone that could actually do the rebuild properly. You know, we're talking about a rebuild, but we won't employ someone that can do the rebuild properly. We'd rather employ Darren Fletcher because it's cheaper and that guarantees commercial success. Commercial success is greater than football success at Manchester United. So Ten Hag, Pochettino, Pep Guardiola, Klopp, it doesn't matter who our next manager is. Ultimately, we're not in a good position. And that is a little bit of my rant. Man, you need to get Ten Hag. Exactly, we do. Guys, we are on 211 likes, as Steve said, so do smash that like button. if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe down below if you are new as well. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more, please do subscribe to Alice Talks Football. I go live every single evening on the Alice Talks Football channel with all the latest on ERIK, Ten Hag, the next manager, and that bish bash bosh. Obviously, indications are suggesting that Ten Hag is most likely to become Manchester United's next manager. However, we still don't know if it's going to be Ten Hag or Poch. But every time there's an update, I will be live. It's indicating Ten Hag. When we know officially who the next manager is going to be, I'll be live. As soon as I know if it's officially going to be Ten Hag, as soon as I know if it's officially going to be Poch, as soon as we know for real 100% who the next Man United manager is going to be, I'm going to be live. So for transfer news updates in the summer, watch alongs to every Man United game, match reactions to every Man United game, and transfer news, do subscribe to the channel. We're 8 subscribers away from 31.4k, so smash that subscribe button. Apparently, Ralf Rangnick is on his way out. That is a strong suggestion. I think Ralf Rangnick is seemingly getting fed up with United. Ralf Rangnick wants to come to United and he wants to help rebuild us. Ralf Rangnick wants to make us a good a club again, but the club don't care. And there are reports that Ralf Rangnick could just leave United at the end of his interim role because Ralf Rangnick wants to have a say. And we could give Ralf Rangnick this consultancy role, but we're just going to ignore him. You know, United are almost like, let's just give Ralf Rangnick this role and ignore him. And Ralf Rangnick's not going to want to be ignored. He actually wants to make a change. So, ultimately, Ralf Rangnick could just leave. Like, he ultimately could leave, which, is a little bit embarrassing as well. Smash that like button, guys. Let's go for 300 likes. Get the Glazers out. The only way to become a proper team again. Get the Glazers out. But you can win trophies under the Glazers if the Glazers would prioritise football over commercial success. The thing is, it's the way the board is run that's fucked us. If the Glazers thought, let's restructure the board, let's give Ralf Rangnick a role, let's give someone like Paul Mitchell a job, let's get rid of all the bankers and let's bring in all these football people with a great CV and let's run the club like Man City run it, United could win trophies and be a good club again. The Glazers don't want to do that. So ultimately, if United to be a big club again, we have to get the Glazers out. Smash a like if you want the Glazers out, guys. Look, it's depressing being a Man United fan at the moment. It's absolutely horrific being a Man United fan at the moment because this club is just muddied. West Ham could finish above us. Spurs and Arsenal look certain to finish above us. Even if we'd have beaten Leicester, I wouldn't be confident about top 4 just because of the performances. It's the results are bad, but the performances are not better either. Paul says we need structure. You're absolutely spot on. Everyone forgetting Maguire was good versus Leicester. Maguire was good versus Leicester, but, one good game for 10 bad games, What do I mean? Someone says Bielsa the man. Personally, I disagree. I wouldn't say Sancho out. I think he's had a poor game, but he's been ultimately our best player over the last 3 months with Fred. And we brought an expert like Rangnick in the board. Do not utilise him at all. Shaking my head because we're just incompetent. The thing is as well, the thing that makes me laugh the most is if United were run properly, they'd actually save money. We're prioritising commercial success over football success, but we're prioritising short-term commercial success. If we decided to actually have a long-term project, we would save more money because long-term projects would be more sustainable. So you look at Klopp and Liverpool. Now, Liverpool spent a bit of money in their first 2 seasons with Klopp. And since then, Liverpool have spent money, but nowhere near the money we've spent. And actually, Liverpool have profited through a few transfer windows or had a net spend of 50, 60 million. The Glazers would love to have a net spend of 50, 60 million. For the last 3 transfer windows in the summer, Liverpool, I don't think, have spent more than 60 million in net spend. And that's what the Glazers want. But for the Glazers to be in that position, they need to have 2 or 3 transfer winners where they spend a lot of money and they build a core to this squad and they build a squad that is capable of winning Premier League, Champions League. They back a manager for 2 or 3 transfer windows. So then every other transfer window since then, because you have a core to the squad, you only need to think about 1, 2 players just to help improve it each window. 1, 2 players just to, this squad is good. This squad is fine. This squad is doing well. We just need, and that's what Liverpool have done. And I just think, United would actually save so much money if they thought, let's bring in Ten Hag. Let's give Rangnick a say. Let's bring in someone like Paul Mitchell to work with Rangnick and Ten Hag. Let's modernise this club. Let's have a complete modern rebuild. Yes, we're going to have to spend a bit of money these next 2 years, but actually in 10 years' time, if we have a modern rebuild and we run the club properly, we'll probably spend less money because we've spent the second most money in the last 10 years and we've not been a good club. We're just going to spend more and more money. I generally think if we go for Poch and we kick Ralf Rangnick out and the bankers have a say, we'll end up spending more money in the next 10 years than we would if we got Ten Hag and gave Ralf Rangnick a say and actually tried to modernise this club. So the Glazers are stupid because short term we might have to spend a bit more money the next 2, 3 transfer winners, but long term they would probably be back to where they were in the Fergie days. Okay, 60 million net spend every summer, bish bash bosh, rest for our pockets, but The owners are absolutely idiots. Alice, I'd rather finish 8th than play in the Conference League. Me too. I want the Europa League. Okay, I don't care. I want the Champions League. We're not going to get that. I want the Europa League. I don't want the Conference League. I'm happy to be in the Europa League, but I'd rather not be in Europe and play one game a week than be in the Conference League. I'm going to be honest with you. Europa League, I don't mind. Conference League, just I hate it. I like the Conference League. Just does not appeal to me absolutely in the slightest. I just, you know what I mean? It's, you know, I actually do like the Europa League. I do. I don't want to be in it, but I do like the Europa League. Conference League, I bloody hate. But look, there's rumours that Ralf Rangnick could leave Man United, and that would be very, very bad because, you know, we've employed a man that's known for what he does long term to not even give him a chance. Let Ralf Rangnick do his job long term, and United could be a good squad. Guys, please do keep smashing the like button if you have not already. Of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more, please do subscribe. We are 5 subscribers away from 31.4k, so it'd be absolutely amazing if someone could click that subscribe button so we can hit 31.4k on the channel. I'm going to be live tomorrow night with more Ten Hag, Ralf Rangnick, Van Persie updates and all of that. And I will be live pretty much every single day this week. I will be doing a lot of transfer videos. If United get rid of Ralf Rangnick, there will be a rant. I do short videos. I do long videos. I try and go live. I try and do 5 live streams a week and 2 short videos a week. So do subscribe. Obviously, I go live for every United game. I do watch longs. I do match reactions. I do match previews. I do transfer news updates. So please do subscribe. Lucky says he wants Ralf to stay. I want Ralf to stay as well. Daniela says the real problem with United is your player wages are so high. You're playing players to sit on the bench. Yeah, I mean, look, that all goes down to the structure. You're absolutely spot on. It all goes down to the structure. Ridiculous wages. So many problems. Also, you have to know when to pull the trigger on selling big players. Liverpool have done a few sales recently. Like Liverpool sold Coutinho. They're better for it. Arsenal sold Aubameyang. Despite him being good at Barca, they're better for it. I think we need to sell Maguire. We need to sell Wan-Bissaka. We need to sell Paul Pogba. We need to sell maybe Scott McTominay. You know, I think, you know, we hang on to players for too long. Eric Bailly is still here. We gave Eric Bailly a contract 8 months ago. 8 months ago, we gave Bailly a new contract. He's played 4 games in the Premier League this season. And, you know, we gave Phil Jones a new contract 2 years ago. Why? You know, as well. Why? The next 2 games are winnable on paper. Liverpool's coming up. We ain't beating Liverpool, though, I tell you that. I mean, if we beat Liverpool, it'll be the highlight of our season, which is embarrassing. But, you know, I want to beat Liverpool, stop them winning the league. But, yeah. If Ten Hag's appointed, the first thing he needs to do is identify the problem and then come up with the solutions. But the problem is Ten Hag's got about 6, 7, 8 problems to identify as well. So it's going to be a difficult job for Erik Ten Hag. But, guys, thank you, everybody, for tuning into today's live stream. I am going to wrap up the live stream here. I've got loads to talk about as well. We've got some Gary Neville comments to talk about and all of that as well. But I'm going to adjust that for tomorrow's video. I've still got loads to talk about in tomorrow's live stream, so please do subscribe. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest on Ten Hag and Pochettino to Manchester United, I will be covering it every single day on the channel live, giving you all the latest. The first 10 minutes of every live stream, I go through every single report that's come out. So the first 10 minutes of this live stream, I said Fabrizio Romano said this, Mike said this, the Mirror said this, the Telegraph said this. Every single live stream, the first 10 minutes, I get into all the news, and then the rest we get into discussions and I talk with you guys. So if that sounds like your thing, news, then discussions, smash a like, smash a subscribe. I will be doing a watch along at the weekend to our next game. What is our next game? What is our next game? Oh, I should know this. I don't even know who we're playing next. We are playing Everton on Saturday. So we'll be live on Saturday for United versus Everton. And then the following Saturday, we're playing Norwich. We'll probably give Norwich 3 points. But if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into today's stream and all of that. Ralf is frustrated. You can see that during the press conference exactly. I will be talking about Ralf Rangnick a lot more in tomorrow's video. His frustration, how Man United treat him and all of that. So, yeah, do smash a like, do subscribe. Bish, bash, bosh.